we think that the way designers think, there's a term you may have bumped into in this country that's emerged in the last 2 or 3 years called design thinking. I don't like it very much, but it seems to be popular. Can be applied to things companies do other than their products, their messages, and their interiors. Indeed, it can be applied to the organization itself. And you start to see business schools where they are trying to embed design thinking not as a product course adjunct to marketing or product development, but in the core curriculum, unrelated to the development of products or messages, but using the analytical thinking that designers do, using the options creations that designers do with prototyping, being more tolerant of ambiguity. In this country, I suspect it's the same in the UK, top executives like to spend a little bit of time, they spend time analyzing what their current environment is, make a decision about what a direction should be, and then optimize their forces to make that happen. As the world of executives is changing, where it is very hard now for them to do a complete enough analysis to decide what to do and then optimize to doing it. They do as much analysis, but because the world is more ambiguous, they're still not sure what to do. So this issue of exploring the world, being tolerant of ambiguity, creating options, prototyping the options, and then making the decision sounds an awful lot like a core aspect of the design process.
One of the recent issues of Business Week spent a great deal of time talking about design and the role of design, the relationship between business and design. And at one point in time, they quoted a number of recruiters from major corporations, and they made the statement that if they wanted to recruit an MBA, they kind of knew where to go. They said the problem that they were having is if they wanted to recruit someone who is going to bring a sense of innovation, creativity, that they didn't know where to go. And they went on further to say that in their opinion, what ought to happen is that the new B school, meaning business school, really ought to become the D school, the design school. That we ought to infuse our curriculum with the types of concepts that are taught, particularly at our Design Institute, which has been identified as one of the best in the world. And they are to focus on issues like innovation and creativity within the organization and how to bring those concepts to bear in the organization. So what we have been doing is talking to recruiters and finding out, first of all, would this type of product that we would be producing be of interest to you? And they have made it clear that they would beat down the proverbial doors to get in here to get those students.
Successful companies who have been innovate across more than one dimension. They're not just innovating on the product or the process with which they produce that product or the service associated with that product, but they may well be innovating with respect to the customer delivery experience. If you go into Starbucks, and you look at the customer experience that Starbucks is trying to engender, it's a little different than Dunkin' Donuts and so forth. So the innovation isn't necessarily in coffee as much as it is in that. Or, for instance, in Dell's case, the innovation was in the business model. The direct marketing model. These Dell computers aren't terribly innovative compared, they're PC clones, they're all the same, made from the same components. But the business model was enormously successful. So one of the things that we try to do in this course, since it is a management course, is try to get the students to think about innovation across not just the product. The product is the centerpiece of it, but also think downstream to the customer delivery mechanism and think upstream to the business model.
Most designers, I would say, 99% of designers in this country not only don't know how to read a balance sheet, these are graduates of an undergraduate school, but don't know what a balance sheet is. But when a company is thinking of making innovations, they're thinking of it in the context of a balance sheet. In America, the context is money and professional managers. And the only reason I believe that design is becoming relevant and getting more publicity and recognition in this country now is because there's been a power shift from the producer to the consumer because of choice that the consumer has. And designers, by accident, not by plan, have found themselves to be, in a way, a more relevant voice of the customer than marketing is now.
I would be less than candid if I said that historically in business schools, we have not recognized the importance of teaching and providing pedagogical mechanisms where students would sit and try and learn innovation and creativity. So I think that the student from design has had a little bit of a head start in that area.